What's going on, Algebra Bros? In this video I'm going to show you how to sketch an exponential function via transformations. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing to note here is that the base of the exponential function is 4, so that's a base value of a that's larger than 1. So we'll go ahead and sketch out a base graph based upon that. So before the transformations, it would have a y-intercept of 0, 1, and to the right of 0, 1 we'd have an end of the graph shooting up to positive infinity, and to the left of 0, 1 we'd have the other end of the graph approaching the x-axis without crossing or touching it. The next thing we want to note here is that in the power of 4, which the power serves as our grouping symbol expression, there's a negative in front of x. So what that means is there's a particular reflection that we should be doing next, and because the negative's on the inside the grouping symbols, this is going to prompt us to do a y-axis reflection. So we'll reflect graph 1 across the y-axis, and when you do so, the part that's to the right of 0, 1 to begin with is going to shoot off to positive infinity in quadrant 2. So when we reflect the part to the right of 0, 1 across the y-axis, it'll go like so. And when we reflect the part that's to the left of the y-intercept initially, it'll now be on the opposite side, approaching the x-axis without crossing or touching it. The last thing that we have to do in terms of transformations is incorporate this plus 2 that's right there. And what that plus 2 is going to do for us is prompt us to do a vertical shift. The vertical shift is going to be up by 2 units because that's positive 2. And the best way to start that out is to take your point 0, 1 and move that up by 2 units. So we'll go from 0, 1 up by a couple of tick marks. And something else that also moves up by 2 units is the horizontal asymptote. So instead of going along the x-axis, it's now going to cross the y-axis at y equals 2. The last thing to do would be to sketch the shape of the graph based on graph 2, which was our y-axis reflection graph, in its new location. So to the right of this point, which is the new location of 0, 1, we're going to have one end of the graph getting closer and closer to this horizontal asymptote of y equals 2, and to the left of this point we'll have an end of the graph going up to positive infinity. And this graph that I have right here would represent my final graph. There are no other transformations to do. So in terms of the details, such as domain, range, and so on and so forth, the domain, regardless of the transformations, would still be all real numbers. As for the range, it's no longer 0 to infinity. You'll want to note that this graph is now entirely above the y value of 2. So for that reason, the range is going to be parentheses 2 comma infinity. And we're not including the 2 because that's serving as a horizontal asymptote in which the graph is getting close to it but never crossing or touching it. Speaking of horizontal asymptote, the equation for it would be y equals 2. And then where did 0, 1 move to? Well, as you can see on the graph, 0, 1 had moved to 0, 3 due to the vertical shift up of 2 units. And there we go. There is a sketch of our exponential function 4 to the negative x plus 2 via the style of transformations. And as always, if you have any questions for me whatsoever about the content of this video, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.